happy to see Amy Reese Anderson. So what I will say first about Amy is that she is a force of nature. When I was applying for the job of president of UVU, she had reached out to me, and the exuberance in that email and the energy in that email was such that I was asking myself, who is this woman? And I've gotten a chance to know her. She's indeed a force of nature, someone I respect very much, and someone who has shown what you can do with your life and talents, even in the face of adversity. And she just exemplifies for me, I think, all of the skills, the commitment, the grit, in fact, that we just heard Angela Duckworth talk about in the TED Talk. So Amy Reese Anderson is the founder and managing partner of Reese Capital, an angel investing firm. Amy is also an author, What Awesome Looks Like. And Amy, I hope you autograph my copy, What Awesome Looks Like. And she serves as a contributor to Forbes magazine and the Huffington Post. She's currently serving on 13 boards, and what that means essentially is Amy has the chance to scale her influence and her wisdom and her impact on other people, because when you sit on boards, you are responsible for governance and guiding management teams to do better, how to do better what they're already doing. Prior to founding Reese Capital, Amy was the CEO of MediConnect Global, a company she grew and sold in 2012 for over $377 million. I think to do something like that requires a lot of grit. After selling MediConnect, she founded the IPOP Foundation, a charity focused on promoting entrepreneurship as a pathway to self-reliance. Amy has been the recipient of a number of awards, including being named CEO of the Year and the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. She has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Business Week, and many other national publications as a result of her awesomeness, because she knows what awesome looks like. In 2015, she also received an honorary PhD. We are very lucky to have her here today. Before I came here, I was introducing another professor from the Mayo Clinic who does deep brain stimulation. I am pretty confident that Amy will do a lot of deep brain stimulation in her talk with you today, so please listen to her and learn from her. Amy, thank you for being here.
Well, I am so glad that I'm actually physically here. The whole freeway was closed, so I got stuck at Point of the Mountain, and I've now learned back roads you can take to get here. But we're going to jump right into things. I give a lot of different talks on a lot of different subjects, and today I'm going to take a whole myriad of them and just kind of splice them together for you guys to kind of do some rapid fire. I'm going to talk really fast because we're already late. But I grew up in a family of 10 kids, moved all over the country, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Virginia, Tennessee, Texas, California, and Utah. Came out to go to BYU to meet that guy, get married, have 10 kids, and that was my whole goal in life, okay? I did come out to BYU. I know you like the hair. That was totally hot back then, so do not make fun. Went to BYU and ended up getting married right away, having 2 little kids, and found myself quickly as a college dropout, divorced single mom with no idea what I was going to do with my life. And the reason I give you that background is I want you guys to know wherever you're starting from right now, it's probably like way better than where I was, okay? So if I can go from that to some of the things Astrid shared, which was selling a company for over $377 million, I am pretty sure that you guys have the capacity to do anything you want, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about that. How many of you guys kind of know what you want to do with your lives? You already have it. You guys are so far ahead of me. See, I didn't know. And so people were like, oh, do something you love, right? Shopping, I love. That was spending money, not making money. People say do something you believe in. And that's a lot of times true. That will actually really help you to kind of have a passion for it. But I would say do something with what you have, right? You guys all have resources. For me, I knew healthcare. I worked in healthcare field when I was growing up. I had jobs in high school and finished high school early to come out to BYU at 17. And I knew healthcare. It wasn't because I was like super stoked about, oh, I want to be in healthcare. It was just that's what I knew, right? So take a look at the things that you know. My passion was shoes. It wasn't healthcare, but guess what? When you do really good in healthcare, you can buy a lot of shoes. So there's more than one way to actually achieve your passion in life, okay? a lot of it is, for me, at the end of the day, it's my family, right? Supporting my family, my kids, and I think a lot of us, that's really what we care about. So you can do that in a lot of different ways, you guys, and you're gonna get passionate about whatever you work really hard at. So take a look at the resources that you have, okay? And remember, a lot of it's gonna take hard work. There is no easy, quick path. Some of the best advice I ever got was from my grandfather. He said, Amy, just get up and do something. Do anything, just make a start. Okay? And that's the biggest thing is we all talk about things and we want everything to be perfectly laid out and all the solutions there. The truth is you just got to start. And things are going to come along the way and you're going to have opportunities open up. So if I was to ask you, those that raised your hand and said you knew what you want to do, if I was to ask you a different question, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Would it change what it is you want to do? How many of you guys, by raise a hand, could that potentially change what you want to do? Yeah, because a lot of times we start to put kind of these barriers around what we think we can do based on, well, what seems logical or what seems doable, because we're scared. But the reality is what you would do if you weren't afraid is probably the right thing to go after. Okay, so I sat down when I was this young girl and I made a goal poster. And on that goal poster, I was like, I know what I want to do, so I'm going to be an entrepreneur, because back then that's what you did. Look, I know you guys have it as an official thing now. Back then we didn't. That's what you did if you had no idea what you were going to go into school for. So I decided I'll be an entrepreneur. If I'm going to do that, I want to do it really well. So I want an Entrepreneur of the Year award, because that's the big award for entrepreneurship, right? And I wanted to be on the cover of magazines, and I wanted to meet Bill Gates, which Astrid worked at Microsoft, because that was, look, Windows was brand new back then, okay? That's how old that I am. And so I put this poster and I just hung it on the wall. How many people think a goal poster is kind of hokey? Raise your hand. You're not going to offend me if you do, it's fine. Okay, a couple of you, I'm going to come back to you in a minute at the end of this talk. We're going to come back to that. So now I had to figure out how to find an opportunity. And a lot of people say, oh, how do I form a company? I was just on the phone actually before I came here to this thing with someone who's made billions of dollars. He's over in Wales. And we were talking about this concept of too many people try to come up with this cool idea. I'm going to come up with a cool idea that no one's ever done before. And they think of something that may be really awesome and it sounds really good, but then you go to offer it to somebody and guess what? Nobody actually wants to buy it, okay? So it's really important to realize that good ideas are actually born from who's going to actually pay for this. It doesn't have to be the sexiest, coolest thing in the world. You just need someone that's willing to pay for it, product or a service, right? And the best way to figure out those is pay attention to what's being said. If you hear complaints about an issue, this is too hard, or I don't like how this is done, the more you hear a complaint, the bigger the opportunity is. So pay attention, talk to customers, potential customers, talk to companies, go meet with a company. Look, you're in college, you gotta milk this opportunity for all it's worth. Right now, in your life, you can walk into almost any company and say, I'm a college kid, could you help me out? I just wanna know what are some of the problems you need solved. And they'll actually tell you. Right? So like, milk that while you have that chance, okay? Because if someone my age walks in, they're gonna be like, we don't know who you are and you're creepy. So you really want to go and find out from people, what are the problems that need to be solved? In my case, I was working in healthcare, right? And there was this job I hated doing, which was when someone came in, I had to take their insurance card and I had to go make photocopies of their insurance card and pull their chart and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing, and I do it every day, and it's so repetitive, and it's so boring. And I have attention deficit disorder anyway, so I get bored really fast. So I was like, there's gotta be a better way. Well, then I said that Windows came out, right? Well, Windows came out, and all of a sudden, DOS was before that. You guys don't even know what DOS is, do you? It was black screens with little white, okay, anyway. So you didn't have any colorful pictures like you have with things now. Astrid knows. So I was like, with Windows came scanners. And I'm like, why couldn't we just scan insurance information into the system? Then I could stay in my chair and do this little boring thing of taking a scan, and we'll just because no one had done that in their software yet. And suddenly I had this idea of, oh my gosh, there's some solutions here I could do. So it doesn't have to come from like this genius place. It can come from just a lot of complaints. And focus on the bigger and the more people it would affect, the more and the easier it's going to be to make money, okay? Because if you solve a problem or something really niche, it's harder. The other thing is, it doesn't have to be an original idea, you guys. The second mouse gets the cheese, right? Think about that. So sometimes it's just looking at what's been done before, and then maybe there's 5 or 6 companies doing it, but none of them are quite doing it right. And look at that. Go look at what's out there, look what's working, and then figure out what could I do to improve upon that, because the smallest improvement can be a whole new business idea that's already proven. Now, a lot of times we have fears of dumb ideas. You guys ever had an idea and been like, oh, it's probably dumb, I don't want to tell anyone, it's embarrassing? Okay, let's talk about dumb ideas. The Slanket. You guys have a Slanket? It was a kid in college that played video games, got cold, called his mom, she cut holes in his sleeping bag. Now he could play better, but his arms were cold, so she put sleeves on it. Dumb idea? I don't know, because there's millions of dollars sold, right? What about doggles? Goggles for your dog. Okay, dumb idea? I don't know, they're selling like crazy in PetSmarts everywhere. Pillow pet? I know you're like supposedly adults, but I guarantee you guys have pillow pets because my children do. And they're disgusting and they never get washed, so put yours in the wash. Okay, so pillow pets though, a dumb idea, right? If it makes money, you guys, it's not a dumb business idea. Here's a guy that got engaged, she dumped him, he tried to take the ring back, couldn't get his money for it, started a company out of it called I Do Now I Don't to sell the ring and make more money, right? Dumb idea, I don't know, it took a bad thing and put it into a good, and now you can upload videos on how the person ruined your life. So in 1996, that's when I decided to start that first company. And I started out of a 10 by 10 room in my house. I had $23,000 that I raised from my uncle and my dad from the back of a napkin, drawn a picture for him. Hardest money I ever raised, okay? Because you have to meet my dad, he's FBI, so it's very serious, okay? Very intimidating. But I'm saying you can start small. It does not have to be big, and sometimes doing it that way is the best way to do it. The other thing I had to do at that point is overcome the fear of what other people thought. You know, we spend so much time trying to please what other people think. Guess what? You could be perfect and do everything right, and other people might not think the best of you. You can't control that. So I learned at a young age that I had to stop worrying about what other people think. I mean, think about it. College dropout, divorced, single mom, 2 kids, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Didn't really fit the mold. I could have spent a lot of time worrying what people thought. Okay, but I realized the only person I can control is what God thinks of me, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever higher power it is. That's the only thing you can control. So worrying about the other stuff is a waste of your time. Okay, just worry about that. The other thing I learned is a little trick. You guys have heard of fake it till you make it? Well, it totally works. There's the way we see ourselves and the way we wish we were, right? And I learned that when I was scared, I could actually replace the way that I see myself with the person I want to be, which in my case happens to be her. For those who don't recognize her, this is the OG Wonder Woman, okay? Original Linda Carter, met her, she's amazing. So that's what I would do. I would close my eyes right before I went into a meeting if I was scared, and I'd be like, hey, you're Wonder Woman, you're not Amy right now, go do this, then you can go back to being insecure Amy. Totally works. It will help you so much, and then the more you go and do that, the more you start to feel like it. To this day, I still always have Wonder Woman, I have a huge collection, but I keep a ring on, right, with Wonder Woman symbol I had made, and that's to remind me, look, you can go be Wonder Woman. On the days you feel like you're not up to it, like when you've been stuck in a flipping car accident for 45 minutes and wondering if you're going to make it to your talk, look, Wonder Woman would be fine. So that's what you do, and it works, okay? I also want to talk a little about raising capital. I get a lot of questions. Now I'm an angel investor. After I sold my company, I started to angel invest, and I get a lot of questions about this. Look, I want to use an analogy because I think that's the easiest way for me to learn. I like things kind of brought down. I used to have shoes. You know, when I was younger, I had like my first pair of black high heels, cheap ones, probably from like a Payless shoe source or something, and I was fine with those. I was fine with those shoes. They were cute, they were fine. But then one day, I got my first pair of Christian Louboutins. You can take a minute if you'd like. The red bottom shoe, the beautiful red bottom shoe. And suddenly, I was no longer okay or satisfied with my little pumps, which I had been fine and happy with before, right? It was totally great. Our needs are going to expand. Where it went from my simple shoe I was fine with, now I had to have the Christian Louboutin red bottom, and suddenly I had to have an entire collection of those to be happy. Okay, that is what's gonna happen. And when it comes to fundraising, that's my closet, by the way, I know, you get a little round of applause, not her right now. But the point is, you guys, when you start too big, which I see happening all the time right now with young people, they go out and they want to raise a ton of money at a huge valuation, right? You start too big, your needs are going to fill the money you have. It becomes a need, not a want. And that's a problem, right? If you start a company small with a little bit of money, you're going to learn how to be disciplined with that money, you're going to learn to be satisfied with less, and you're going to develop habits that are going to stay with you the entire time you're doing your company. So I am anti going out and raising more than you need, because that is, you're going to end up like me, needing the big shoe collection and a whole closet just to fill it, okay? The other thing I want to tell you about raising money is, look, if what you have to sell is good, somebody will be willing to pay for it. Land a customer. If you want to know if you have a fundable business idea, go sell somebody the product or the service you have. With my company at MediConnect, before we would actually build new software technology, we were a healthcare technology company and we had big technologies there. Before we would ever build something, I would mock it up in a PowerPoint, just faked up screens. Go meet with a customer and say, if I can build this, would you want to buy it? And they'd be like, oh yeah, if you can change this and this and this. And guess what? They're now designing my software for me and telling me what I can do. If it's good, they'll pay for it. Your friends might tell you it's cool, but if they're not willing to write you a check to buy whatever it is you're selling, it's not a good business idea, you guys. So if you're gonna raise money, before you do that, sell, 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 okay? That's how you're gonna know. The other thing is you gotta be really organized about things. There is no credibility that's gained by chaos. Okay, when we meet with entrepreneurs, one of the biggest things that we find is that they have no idea what contracts they've signed. They have no idea what documents they've done. They're like, well, I can't remember this. I don't know my numbers. That does not breed credibility. It's really important to be organized. It is really important to read what you sign. How many of you guys have clicked through some kind of an app or something and not actually read your contract, right? Like almost everyone, yeah, okay. So you realize that when you do that, you legally have bound yourself to you don't even know what? Think about that. You don't even know what you just said you'd do. So how, from an integrity perspective, are you going to follow through on it if you don't even know what it was? It's really important to be organized from day one. Read things, keep copies of things. We developed simple little matrices when we first started out where we would track little scanned images of every contract, and we had a little spreadsheet. And then we built an access database, and then we built a really complex system for tracking contracts. But the more organized we were, the more it showed people that we were credible and trustworthy because we were tracking those things, right? We built matrices to make sure that every employee's information was being tracked. And if we had a contract we said we would do or a drug test we said we'd make them take every so often, that we were on top of that. And by doing those kind of things and having that kind of insight into and you can start simple, but it's important to know your information. Because when we went to go sell our company and we got an offer to buy us, we were able to upload. They give you a data, it's called a request for due diligence. I'll give you this whole list of all this stuff that usually takes people weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months to gather. We were able to upload ours in about 24 hours. What do you think that says to a buyer about our credibility? The fact that we were that organized, that on top of it, that we knew our stuff, right? So the more organized you can get and the more you can be aware of what is the things that drive your company. We had made little dashboards built for everything so that we would know where we were at. And that's going to help you when it comes to fundraising or being taken seriously or even selling your company someday. How you communicate matters, okay, a lot. Like when you're coming to meet with an investor, and it stopped clicking, so I don't know. Oh, there we go. I'm going to tell you about a little analogy. So they did a study with men and women, put them in a room, and had them wait, and then they took them to the next room and they asked the two questions. What do you know about the people around you and how many exits were there and where were they? Okay, the women knew everything about the people around them, they knew nothing about the exits. The men knew exactly how many exits there were and where they were in the building. And they did a bunch of these little studies, and what they learned is before men can engage in a conversation, they have to know three things. A man has to know, is it gonna be painful? How long is it gonna take? And when you're done talking to me, what do you want? Okay, any married men in this room? Yeah, okay, is this true, men? Yeah, so if your wife comes to you and says, hey, we need to talk, what happens? The look of terror just got on all these guys' face, right? But if your wife came to you and said, hey, we need to talk, it's gonna take 5 minutes, I don't need anything from you when you're done, then you go play Fortnite with your friends. Are you in? You see the difference though? Okay, same thing applies when you're working with people in business. And for both men and women, by the way, in business. Women, on a personal level, we don't care about those three things up front. Okay, we could talk all day. But in business, if you call someone in business, if I get a phone message that says, hi, Amy, could you give me a call back? Guess where I go to? The same place that he just went to when I talked about his wife saying that. It's like this tunnel of darkness is, I don't know what you want from me. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm running for the hills. But if you call and say, hey, I have one question. When I'm done, that's all I need from you. If you could just give me a quick call back, okay, I'll call you back. Do you see the difference in how it makes you feel? So remember to do those three things up front in your conversations with people in business. Hey, I have a product I'd like to talk to you about. I just wanted to tell you one aspect of the product and get your feedback on that one point. Would you be okay with that? Right? Big difference. Next thing is, your biggest asset is your integrity in your communication. If you don't know it all, that's okay. Because frankly, if you do know it all, we don't want to work with you anyway. No one wants to help a know-it-all. True or not true? If somebody knows everything, it's not that fun to go in a system or help them or try to help them be more successful. You're like, never mind. But someone who's like, you know what, I'd really love to learn from you. Man, I so respect where you've come from and what you've been through. Can you help me to understand? Right? I was just on the phone with a guy who set up an entrepreneurship center at a college in another country. And I was like, if I can learn from you and what you've done, it'll help me avoid mistakes on my side. And of course he wants to help because everybody loves to share what they know. So don't feel like you have to go in to raise money and be like, oh, I know everything. Oh, yeah, we're not worried, right? Oh, yeah, we got this. Because then what value do you think the other person's going to add to your life besides a check? They don't want to just write you a check. They want to help you to learn. They want to help you learn from everything that they did wrong. and give back in a bigger way. And the more you can remember that with people, the more you let them get engaged in your life and help you that way, the more invested they are in you. And the easier it's going to be to fund your company. Another thing, I use the Bentley analogy. I have a really good husband. He bought me a Bentley for my birthday, which was actually really dumb because I'm the worst driver on the planet. If you had just seen me on the freeway, you would know what I mean. But he bought me this car, right? Now, if my kids came to me and said, hey, Mom, we want to borrow the Bentley. Don't worry about it. We got it. It's fine. It's going to be cool. Do you think I'm going to be okay with that? No, I'm like terrified. But if they came to me and they said, Mom, look, we want to ride the Bentley. We know it's an expensive car. And we realize we're going to have to be like mega careful because if we scratch that thing, you're going to kill us. And so we know it's a problem. And we know it's not just us on the roads. We know there's other people on the roads we got to be careful of. And so we realize that we're going to have to be mindful of these things. Suddenly, now am I going to give them the Bentley keys? Probably not. I'll give them the Range Rover keys. But the point is, the difference it makes in people when you're willing to be honest. Don't come in and say, oh yeah, we know all the competition and there's none. Because I guarantee that's not true, and the investors have seen like 5 in the last week. So you don't ever want to do that. You want to come in and be like, look, yeah, there is competitors, and here's what they're doing right. Here's what we think we might be doing a little bit better that could help us, but we know we need to watch out for this. This is, and gosh, do you have any feedback on how we could avoid this too? See the difference that makes? It's okay not to know everything. Now I'm going to give you a couple, we're going to race through these really fast. You guys starting out, I already told you not to raise a lot. I really believe that. But I also want you to know it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to be great. We did a lot of things just using branding that was really cheap. And I won't go through all of it, but we implemented a spy theme because we needed to make security sexy at our company, right? In healthcare, we have a lot of security. Super easy, little rebranding of names, like the Treasury Enforcement Agency instead of finance. It just sounds cooler, right? And we did inexpensive logos, and we did screensavers. And we did like stars on the wall. If you killed it on the job, you got your star on the wall. But we did these little cheap things, t-shirts, all this kind of stuff that just gave this feel of the spy stuff without spending a lot of money. And you can use a lot of that in branding to do that, right? Anyone that's ever been to Disney? Dude, they do branding right. Am I right about, first of all, it's magic. Let's just be honest. We all love Disney. So you can use branding to create this sense of emotion and this feel, and smart companies do that. The other thing is you got to find people to surround yourself with good values. That does not mean you all have to have the same religious backgrounds or the same upbringings, but you do need an equal value system because you guys are not going to be able to teach your friends values right now. You can set examples for them, but to teach an employee values, no. But to teach them skills, easier by far. So I would rather hire someone who had good values and then teach them the skills any day than finding someone who's the best in their field but has no values. Okay? So at our company, we were looking for people that had integrity, that would respect others, that had a good attitude, they were dependable, they were flexible, open to feedback, and they'd go the extra mile for people. If I could find that person, I would hire them all day long over anybody else that had, I don't care what Harvard MBA you had, right? I'd rather have this. So we would have to go find those people, and we needed a way to do it. So we started a marketing campaign in the company, and I asked the employees to give me the dumbest talent they had, so I could let people see that just because you don't have healthcare and technology does not mean you don't fit here. Here's a couple of those videos. If you're watching that in the movie theater, and right before the movie starts, you'd be like, oh, I'm as good as that guy is. I could clearly get a job there, right? Here's another one. This was our way of saying we don't care what your skills are. If you have a talent of any kind, just come and talk to us, right? And then we'd put out those values, and that's how we'd hire people. We also went about it by looking for people where they were. So we would go to companies, and on the back of their bathroom stalls, if we thought they had good employees there, we'd say, you're reading this right now, you're clearly a good multitasker, and we happen to be hiring multitaskers, so go ahead and apply, right? We would go to places where we knew that company's culture had the best values, because that's the people we wanted. We had a mobile hiring center that we would go and take it out as an RV, and we'd park it in the parking lot of their building and hand out little cards during lunchtime. We used a lot of little cheap guerrilla marketing tactics, like shame on you for not applying at MetaConnect, and as long as you hold it, it's not illegal. Don't tie it to a tree, because that is. Found out the hard way. Another way we found, and this is probably the best way I found to find people, is we would give all of our employees these little recruiting cards, and we said, if you're out and about in your everyday life and you go through the Wendy's drive-thru and that person gives you good service, give them a we're hiring card. What better job interview is there for someone than to see them in their natural habitat when they don't know they're getting interviewed? And if they can be pleasant in a Wendy's drive-thru for me, they're going to be really pleasant with my customers at MetaConnect, right? So finding those people that are going the extra mile in their daily life, look for people that way, because you know what, the interview process is inherently like it's really hard to see what somebody's really like. So find the people based on their values. We did a lot of cheap things where we hired high school kids for a Little Caesars pizza, $4.99 hot and ready, and they would give us a ton of brilliant marketing ideas because the younger people are naturally good marketers. They know how to get likes all day long on social media. Okay, so you don't have to pay big marketing companies for ideas. You could just go to high school kids and be like, look, here's a pizza, what do you got? High school kids came up with our billboard ideas. They came up with a ton of our branding ideas, and they're those. My kids were in high school at the time. It made it a little easier. But you could literally reach out to some of those organizations like DECA and others that are in the high schools and say, hey, here's a competition. Have the kids come up with this branding for me or this logo or whatever it is. And you're going to find that they are naturally the best at that. Okay? The most important thing that we lived by, and this really was, you can say this is like a fluffy feel-good, but it's really not. This is about money, hardline money. Okay? When we do the right thing, we make more money, plain and simple. Now, someone could short-term make more money by lying, cheating, and stealing, and that often happens, and we see that, right? But the reality is, the long-term success is tied to your integrity. Your reputation of integrity is the most valuable asset sitting in this room that you guys have right now. If you treat that as such, it is going to benefit you your entire life, okay? We kept a sign on our wall at MetaConnect that said, do what's right. And then we added to the sign, let the consequence follow, because we found ourselves in a lot of situations where you get put into, where it's like the temptation to do something wrong, thinking you're doing it for the right purpose. So, you know, you're gonna submit a proposal, someone else is gonna submit it, they're gonna lie, you don't want them to win lying, because that's wrong. So then you're gonna do it too, right? You're like, well, we have to do it to compete with that. No, you don't. You have to go into things knowing that sometimes doing the right things means you're gonna lose. It just does. But long term, you're gonna win. And that's why the whole success will come and go, but integrity is forever. Keep that in mind. Those short-term things that you might think you're getting sucked into, and have friends around you that will point it out to you. My executive team knew if any one of us started to do that whole justification game, we would stop each other and be like, right? And it really does. It makes your choices for you. We had situations where things would go wrong, and we had to admit to the customer it went wrong. Terrifying, right? When you're trying to feed families, it's super scary. But guess what? We had to keep our integrity because that's what we committed to do. And when you do make a mistake, which you will, you guys, that's how you're gonna learn. Own it, right? Just own it. Don't make all the excuses, just own it and say, you know what, we're sorry. We had a situation with one of our big customers, was a huge health insurance company doing huge amount of revenue with us, millions and millions of dollars a year. And one of our employees did something wrong, they screwed up. It was an honest mistake, but they messed up. We could have just fixed it and covered it up and gone on with life and hoped they never found out. But we had that whole mantra, right? Do what's right, let the consequence follow. So I picked up the phone, terrifying phone call, and I said, hey, I need you to know we made a mistake. Here's what happened. I explained to them how it happened, what we learned from it, and how we were gonna put safeguards in place to make sure we didn't do it again. And do you know what the client said to us on that call? They didn't fire us, they didn't drop us, they didn't go elsewhere. They said, thank you. Because they were so not used to having someone be honest with them. And then they gave us more business. And you are going to find that when you have integrity that way, financially it will pay off. It's also a very good feel-good thing to do, but it financially pays off. Okay? We talked a little bit about communication. One of the things I started doing as a leader was blogging to my employees every single day, 5 days a week. And I would write to my employees and tell them everything going on. It wasn't like a professional blog. It was like, you know, whatever's happening. Here, I screwed this up today. I made this mistake. I'm scared about this. I need help with that. Or don't put your pants on out of the dryer because it's really bad on your self-worth. Like it was anything. It was real, right? My husband did something dumb. I blogged about it. They knew everything. And the more I was willing to be vulnerable and put myself out there and be real about how hard it was to be a leader and how scary sometimes it is to make choices, the more my employees rallied and got behind me. So don't be afraid to be very vulnerable about your situation. You're gonna find that people will get behind you more and in ways you never expected when you're willing to do that. I know it's uncomfortable, it's scary for me too, but right, here's the other thing I learned. If they're gonna say stuff behind your back, isn't it better for you to learn and hear it too so you can fix it and get the feedback? So we started a discussion board that would let people go on and make comments back to me so that we could actually have this two-way conversation. And yes, it was all public within the company. But you know what? If they were going to say negative things, now I could address it, I could handle it, I could fix it. And guess what? Other people got on board and started to like defend it too and helped me. So don't be afraid to be real with people and authentic. It's super valuable. I'm going to skip some of these just because of time. But the kind of things that we were doing as a leader and the things in our organization, it really led to the employees getting super excited. And suddenly they wanted not just MetaConnect t-shirts, they wanted everything branded with MetaConnect. And they were paying for this stuff out of pocket. It created this culture where everybody felt like they were part of the fix and they were part of the movement of making things better, and they were excited to come to work. The other thing I would say is when you're communicating with people, especially customers, make it personal. You know, we had this little photo stock lady, and we ended up replacing her with pictures of our customer service agents. So now when they logged in, they'd see who's actually talking to them on the phone. That little itty bitty thing made a huge impact. Customers loved it. And then we were like, you know, let's make it fun like Google does. So now we started putting costumes on, and they'd log in and they'd see something kind of exciting. Find ways like that to connect with people. It's really important. I'm going to skip some of these for time's sake, and I really apologize, you guys, about being in that car thing. But I'll leave this part before we go into the ending is, you know, people do business with people they like. I went to go buy a bicycle from one shop. The other shop sold it for a couple $100 more. Same exact bike. I know it seems weird that I buy a bike because I'm totally anti-exercise ever. In fact, I went into a place the other day and the lady goes, I saw you at the gym this morning. I'm like, oh, I guarantee that was not me. Sister, I do not set foot in a gym. It's opposed to my religion. I have my own little modified version of my religion I believe in that does not include exercise. So people are going to do business. I paid more money to buy the bike from a girl that I liked at the store, the other store. She was nicer. She was friendlier. She made me feel like I wasn't totally needing to feel like an idiot buying a bike when I don't even ride. She made me feel good about myself, so I bought from her even though she was more money than the guy down the street. Okay? People will do business with people they like, so be likable. No one wants to hang out with you if you're like a boring Eeyore that's always depressed. Those are some of the kind of tips about what helped us to grow this business. And I was able to grow MetaConnect. We had almost 2,000 people worldwide, and I was able to sell it for a lot of money, and that was really fun. Okay? So it wasn't rocket science that led to those things. It was really, one, me overcoming my fear. And you got to do that because you're never going to get ahead if you don't. It's really easy to be afraid of things and being afraid of failing from where you're sitting right now. And the reality is you're going to make mistakes, but you guys, you don't learn, and it's not a failure as long as you get better. So think of it that way. It's not a failure as long as you get a little bit better. So don't be afraid to like kind of branch out and try stuff because that's the only way you're going to get there, and that's the only way you're going to get past the fear to get to fabulous. Okay? Don't ever give up. Right now, it's a kind of a huge problem in our country, obviously, with people that give up, especially young people. They think whatever happens is the end. It is not the end. I had that sign on my wall for many, many years, right? You guys kind of heard the snippet of the backstory. I went from being in a really bad situation to turning my life around and getting into a good situation. And if I hadn't remembered that it's not the end, I probably would have given up a million times. If it's not where you want it to be right now, it's simply not the end, so don't give up. Now let's go back to the goal poster and end on that, and then if there's time for Q&A, we'll do it. Raise your hand if you thought the goal poster was kind of dumb, because I'm not going to be offended, okay. So I actually thought that too. I only made it because I was like really depressed at the time that I was like, I don't even know what to do with my life. I'm going to slap this together, stick it on the wall, and then I didn't think about it. But then several years later, that goal poster that'd been up there, I was moving offices, and I realized, oh my gosh, everything on that goal poster happened. I'd won Entrepreneur of the Year. I had met Steve Ballmer, who replaced Gates. It counts. Okay, Gates retired, not my fault. But I was on the cover of Inc. magazine. Like all these things had happened, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of crazy. Still thinking it's probably just a coincidence, right? And then my dad and mom came to me and they said, hey, we're going to go to Africa to serve for our church and the temple presidency out there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who's going to take care of my fire alarm batteries? Because I don't know how to change them. Yes, I'm running a company, but that's like a man job I don't want to do. Anything I don't want to do becomes a man job, okay? And my dad's like, look, it'd be great for you to come out here and get married in Africa. And I was like, that'd be sweet, but I'm running a company and I don't even have a boyfriend. And there's no time to date with 2 little kids. But I put it on the poster, and less than a year later, I was in Africa getting married to an awesome Idaho farm boy, which I highly recommend. Ladies that are single looking, Idaho farm boys are the best. So suddenly I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to the poster. So we get married 11 years ago. I sit down, and I'm like, I better make a new goal poster. And on the poster I put, I want to sell my company for a lot of money. And I want to go visit the 7 wonders of the world. Apparently there's more than 7, but that's the postcard I found. Why call it 7? I don't know. I wanted to start a charity to help other entrepreneurs, right? I wanted to get my life back with my kids, and not the plane, just because, like, let's be honest, it's just, who doesn't want a plane? So I put that poster together right after I got married. And over the next few years, here's what started to happen. And these were not planned because of the poster, but I had trips that came up that just happened to be places on the poster. Okay? Sold the company for $377 million. Was able to start Reese Capital, an angel investment firm, to invest in other entrepreneurs. Started the IPOP Foundation to be able to do charity work to help encourage people to look at entrepreneurship as a pathway to becoming self-reliant. Got my life back with my husband and my 2 cute kids. Those are my son and daughter. And I was like, this is crazy. So now I was like, maybe there's something to the poster, right? So I sell the company. My husband's like, what are you going to put on the poster now? I'm like, I want to build a dream house. So I started a poster, which became, quite honestly, it's probably like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50-page PowerPoint of a goal poster. But these are a few of the pictures that I was like, okay, these are houses I like, and this is just a couple of them I wanted you to see what was actually on my poster. That's Mariah Carey's closet. I'm just saying. These are the pictures on the poster. I want you to see the house that over the next 12 months I built. Okay? Now I'm like, okay, now the poster, yeah, I know, right? So now I'm like, okay, I need a bigger poster, right, clearly. So I sit down, and after all this happens, I sit down and I start making a poster. But I didn't even know what to put on it. And I was a little afraid, because you put something bad on there, it could probably happen. So I stay away from messing with the mojo. So I sat down and I started a poster. This is just in the last couple of years. I started the poster, and I was like, okay, I want my kids to get married in the temple. That matters to our family. And I want to have 16 grandkids. I don't know how many are on the poster, but I told my kids they get $1 million on the 8th child. I think it's a really good deal, frankly, but whatever. I was like, I've never been to Europe. A vacation sounds good. And I've been writing that blog to my employees, and after I sold the company, they're like, oh, will you keep writing? So I did, and I've been writing that blog every day, 5 days a week since 2010, never missed a day. It's one of my goals. So that blog's out there. I was like, I should take it and do it into a book, take some of the blogs and make a book. And then there was the education thing. I dropped out of college. It bugged me, right? Because I wanted to finish. I couldn't afford to back then. And back then it was like kind of like if only one of you could go, the guy went, which, by the way, don't do that. It's just as important for both of you to get educated. So I was like, you know, it bugs me that, but I'm not going to go back to college. Like I teach at some of the colleges now and lecture all the time. I'm not going to go back. And my husband's like, just stick it on the poster. You don't know. So I did. I put it on the poster. Within a couple of months, before I've even finished the poster, right, I get a phone call that I'm getting an honorary PhD. I was like crying when they called me, and they're probably like, why is she crying? And I'm like, because it's on my poster, they don't understand. But whatever. Then these are the countries we went to Europe over the next 2 years. It was like crazy how many places we ended up going into, right? And that's us there to prove that, yes, I was actually there. Then my 2 kids got married in the temple, right? Son and daughter both got married. And a year and a half ago, I became a grandma. I go by Glamma. It's very much sexier than grandma, so thank you. And I just found out I'm about to have grandbaby number 2 in June, which I'm super excited, because it's a girl. I can like girls. So anyway, very excited. So the poster thing, right? I point this stuff out, you guys, because, oh, and then I, by the way, got a call from Forbes, and I had been writing for Forbes, and they said, hey, we'd like to publish your book. And it just came out a couple weeks ago. So I think actually they have some books here, and I'll sign books for anyone that wants them. It's kind of like an ADD guide to how to be successful. Let's put it that way. It's called What Awesome Looks Like. And the point is that it's foil because you're what awesome looks like, right? So those things happen. So the poster, who thought the poster was dumb? Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. I thought it was dumb too. I can't actually say why it works, but I will tell you it works. So I'm going to challenge all of you guys to make a poster. And when you do, realize that up in the left corner, that's how you see your life, but what God sees is more of a masterpiece. So I want you to make a poster. Here's my contact information to get a hold of me. I want you guys to make a poster. You can post it on social media, hashtag a goal poster and tag me. You can email it to me, whatever you want to do. I want you to make a poster. Even if it's just to make fun of me, I want you to make a poster. Because I had a guy do that actually in New York, sent me a poster that he was like making fun of me and said he's going to make a film about how dumb it was. And then a year later, he like wrote an apology letter saying how everything on his poster came true. And now he gave me another poster that he wanted to win the Cannes Film Festival. 4 months later, he won the Cannes Film Festival. So I've gotten posters from all over the world from people who have made those posters, and I've collected stories from all over the world. It doesn't just work for Amy, it works for everybody. I have yet to meet anybody who made a poster that has not been so grateful that they did. I don't know why it works, but I will tell you that it does. So go home, make a poster, do that for me. I am grateful I got to come and talk to you guys today. I'm sorry we didn't get to go deeper into many of the subjects, but I'm just glad I'm here in one piece, alive. So thank you.